Hey y'all, welcome to my channel, Divinely Transformed. My name is Lisa, and whether you're new or returning, I'm glad that you're here. Welcome to a very special video that was definitely divinely inspired. When I got the idea that came into my head as a download, that relationships are a lot like gardening, and even parenting is similar to gardening. If you look at it from a spiritual sense, that is. The way that God sees it and the way God looks at it. So, God sees us as like these little plants. And the plants can vary depending on your spiritual health. Your plants can either be living or dead. They can be big, medium, or large, or huge, depending on the spiritual maturity that you have, depending on how connected you are to divine source, and depending on how you live your life modeling that. And it varies for everyone, individually. So when God is giving us blessings, it's like a seed that gets put into like a bank, for each person, is how it was sort of explained to me. And these different banks are for different things for a person. This can be blessings, curses, karmic lessons, karmic, past life karmic energy, current life karmic energy, and it's like a checking and balancing. It's like one large account with a bunch of sub-accounts in it. And every time we have a thought or an emotion or a deed or an action, or we say something or whatever, and whether that's for the good or for the bad, we get a seed planted in a positive or a deficit or a negative account. And depending on the person, we can rack up accumulations and blessings, which is our health, our wellness, our well-being, our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health, our financial health, our spiritual health, all of that. Or, it can go in a deficit account. And depending on the individual, you can rack up either a whole lot of blessings or a whole lot of karmic deficits. And you can have karmic deficits removed when you learn karmic lessons. It kind of cancels out the karma. And that is like achievements, like a crown of glory for your account. It's really just that simple. So this is how God deals with us. And this is how we deal with each other too. It's just not in a physical sense. It's in a metaphysical sense. And it happens energetically without our awareness. And the universe keeps track of all that for us. Not just God, but the universe. The universe deals with us like plants too. When we have unsuccessful endeavors in our life, here comes Saturn lets Pluto know, hey, it's time to destroy this shit. Let's plow through it. And then let them build over again. And then it can continue to rebuild that area of their life until they can make healthy choices for themselves. So the cycle keeps repeating, but gets harder and more intense the more that you're rebuilding on faulty foundations. We are called to respect ourselves and respect others. But if others don't respect us, then we have to respect ourselves and remove ourselves from those situations and those people and those environments that are disrespecting us. And when we don't, the lessons just get harder and harder and more intense until the lesson is learned, until we can create healthy boundaries for ourselves, till we can take healthy actions to have our lives reflecting that. Because we're not called here to be in pain, to be anybody's slave, but we're born into it. And the point of our lives is to free your mind, to free yourself from the slave system we've been born into. This world, the society. See, the problem is there's a lot of people that don't really want to be free. And then there's some people who want to be free, but don't feel like that they deserve to be free. That is just conditioning. It's a faulty belief system. It's a toxic belief system that keeps us stuck. And it's up to us as individuals to free ourselves from the slave system that we're born into. Or not. It doesn't feel very good to be under someone else's thumb. It doesn't feel very good to be oppressed. And it doesn't feel very good to be disrespected and used and abused. And yet, we've been conditioned to put ourselves in these toxic situations and stay there because that's what we were told to do. That's what our families told us to do. That's what our friends told us to do. Everybody's been brainwashed. From the time that we were born until the day you free your mind. We've been lied to our whole lives by well-meaning people who are living in fear, who really just have no idea what they're doing by perpetuating the conditioning and the fear. And then there's other people that aren't so well-meaning. There are other people that know exactly what they're doing. They trample all over the rights of others. They're dangerous, they're desperate, they're toxic, they're abusive. They want power and control. And they want other people to do all the work for them, so they don't have to do anything that requires any work that actually means something. They don't want to do any work to support themselves. They just want to lie and manipulate people and making people afraid into giving them things that they don't deserve, that they didn't earn. And hell, they're not even asking for it. They're fucking demanding it. And these evil people need to be recognized for who they are. They need to be called out. And they need to be left alone. To sit and think about their actions, their words, and everything that they've ever done to hurt another person. They need to sit and stew in that shit. They need to be ignored. But yet, we're conditioned to give them all of our love and attention and our money and time and efforts and you name it. The very people that treat us like shit, I don't trust you. But they're the ones that can't be trusted. And they make good people, well-meaning people pleasers. They make them out to be the untrustworthy person, and really, you know, whenever you're a kid, all right, you learn a whole lot of valuable ideas and lessons and shit like that. And then we grow up and we forget. Do you remember whenever we're kids and you point your finger at someone, you have to remember that there's always 3 fingers pointing back at you. So when you point your finger, you need to make sure to check yourself. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people wreck themselves when they point their finger because they forget those 3 little fingers pointing back at them. But I don't forget. I know what my mistakes are. I've learned from them. I've made many mistakes. That's why I'm in front of this camera. Not because I wanted to be, but because God told me to. And when he first told me to start my own YouTube channel, to start doing tarot, I was like, really? I barely knew how to do it at the time. I had to put a lot of effort into learning it. I was always a shy person, never good with talking to people. I never really wanted to be on camera. I have gifts and talents of a performer, of a speaker. And I always shoved them down. a speaker because I know things. I'm very wise. I've been through a lot in my life. I've experienced a lot of pain and hardship and heartache. And most of it, I did it to myself. I never wanted public scrutiny, public attention. I never wanted to be noticed. But I didn't say no. But I wasn't crazy about the idea, to be honest with you. I was way too introverted. I started my channel 2 years ago. It's been a rough start. I took a couple breaks, but I never gave up, and I never will. I've been handpicked for my assignment. So I couldn't refuse. I had to transform into it. I had to get comfortable with it. I had to get healthier. I started my channel in December of 2019. I started my spiritual journey in January of 2019. January of 2019, I was at rock bottom health through years of self-neglect, self-abuse, drug addiction, depression, anxiety, and codependency. In my old life, I was very unstable in all of my ways. All of them. I never went to sleep at the same time. I never woke up at the same time. I never slept for any amount of time, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot. I did the same thing with food. I've restricted food. I've indulged in food. I've starved myself. I put myself in stressful and chaotic situations with men, with my children. I subjected my children to all types of abuse and horror because I was abused. I had what's called Stockholm Syndrome. It's a conditioning when you develop relationships with your abusers. When you love them and you need them and you protect them. Because you're brainwashed and conditioned to do so. Because you don't know anything else. I've been abused my whole life by many people. I don't know how I'm still alive. And I can just say that it only has to be by the grace of God that I am still alive today. Because I should have been dead so many times. I don't know how I made it through my childhood. I don't. I was abused in every way imaginable. I don't know how I lived through that. I don't know how I lived through my 20s. I went crazy. I was so lost and so codependent. And all I wanted was someone to love me. And I went out into the world and I tried to just, here I am. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. While they all abused me and tormented me and laughed at me, mocked me, raped me, hit me, put me in fear, kept me a prisoner. Took things away from me. Things that I needed, like food, like blankets. Like water, like love. I always tried to be the best parent that I could be. But I made a lot of mistakes. But I did a lot of things right, too. The things that I did wrong was I didn't listen to my children enough. I turned a blind eye to their pain because I didn't know what to do. I kept finding myself hooking up with these men that were just so controlling. Yeah, I went through a lot of them. I've left them all. But I tried to make it work with so many abusive and controlling men that I've left scars on my children. But through it all, I did my best to try to love them, nurture them, even though I wasn't protecting them. I didn't know that. I couldn't see it. I was blind. Most of my focus went on my children when it wasn't on myself. Because sometimes I was just so miserable that the focus could only be on me. And then I was like stuck feeling sorry for myself and stuck wondering what I was going to do. But when I wasn't doing that, I was very focused on my children. Trying to do my best to love them and provide for them. I did the best that I could do at the time with the tools that I had and the knowledge that I had. But it wasn't good enough. But even though it wasn't good enough, I did a lot of things right too. Because in my family, we had a very long tradition of, especially women, but anybody, not graduating high school, not having a proper education because of teenage pregnancy. I got pregnant right after I got married at 17, had my first child at 18. I had to drop out of my 12th grade year because I was too sick to go to school, and I was really angry about that. But yeah, I fell trapped to that. But I got my GED the following year. I went to college. And then some years later, I finished an associate's degree. I am the first woman on both sides of my family to have a college degree of any kind. And yes, while having an associate's degree really doesn't amount to a whole lot, it is a huge achievement for me because I broke a family generational curse with education. I broke another family generational curse of how I raise my children. When I had the opportunity to do so. I have 2 adult children who I'm not a grandmother yet. I have 2 adult children who have graduated high school and they don't have children of their own yet. 22 and 23 years old. I have 2 teenagers still in high school, and they don't have children, and they're still in school. I had to lose my kids, my younger kids, to give them a future. They have an awesome future now. They're living in very loving homes, very stable homes. They have all the best opportunities, except one. But the only reason why she doesn't have those opportunities is because of her mental health. She's in a psychiatric facility, and she's been in and out of it since she's been 8 years old. She's 15 now. And she was the one that I thought was going to be pregnant by the time she was 12. And the fact that she is still not pregnant is amazing. I couldn't control her. She's tried to kill me multiple times. She's ran away from me. She's abused me. She's done the most to me. And I was so codependent. I was hanging on. It wasn't safe, and I was just trying to love her and trying to save her. And the more that I tried, the more she rejected me, the more she ran away, the more she hated me. Then after, I don't know how many times she attempted to kill me, the police finally removed her from the home permanently for my safety, because they didn't want the next time that they got called to my house to be because I was dead. And I was so devastated and so distraught, and I was so angry. I didn't even see that. I didn't even regard that for 2 years, because I was like, I lost my daughter. I couldn't save her. I couldn't help her. It took me 2 years to change my perspective to now be able to say, well, it's been longer than 2 years since I've lost her. But ever since that first 2 years, I'm now able to say, I did my best. I did all that I could do. I went through counseling. I went through parenting classes. I went through intense mother-daughter counseling with her. I did everything to make the home safe for her. But it wasn't enough because she needed more than what I could give her. And I gave her everything that I could give her. I did my best. And now she is getting better care, and she is safe, and she is happy overall and healthy. Even though she's in a psychological institution and lives there, I just found out recently that she's actually going to regular school from there and not at the school at the hospital, which is amazing because I couldn't keep her in school for shit. I couldn't get her to go to school. It was like World War III every day trying to wake her up for school. Sometimes I could get her to go, sometimes I couldn't. I saw myself as a failure because I was sad, I was depressed, I was miserable, and I was just trying so hard to do right by her, to do the best that I could do for her. But she was just too traumatized by her father for me to ever fix it. It took me 2 years to learn that reality. Being a good parent doesn't always mean having your children with you. Sometimes the best thing a parent can do is give up an incorrigible child that does not listen. And as much as there were people around me that really enjoyed telling me how much I failed, I know I didn't fail. Because my daughter is safe, happy, healthy, and she has made great achievements in a short period of time, relatively. And I couldn't do that for her myself. One moment, please. Never mind. I guess it wasn't important. But what was I saying? I did my best. I've learned from my mistakes. I've grown stronger. I'm wiser. I know exactly what I've done that I should never have done, and I will never do those things again. I wasn't always a victim in my life. I've hurt people too. And sometimes I enjoyed it. And I will never be that person again. that Lisa is gone. And pretty soon, I won't be Lisa anymore because I am that different today that I'm going to change my name this year. Legally. By my birthday. To Elise. It means the exact same thing. It's just spelled different. And it's still me, but it's the new me. The old me is dead and gone. But I will never forget her. Because she taught me how to be me now. I see my successes and I see my failures from the past. I've learned my lessons. I refuse to mistreat people. I refuse to abuse people. I refuse to trap people. I refuse to lie to people. I refuse to depend on people. I just refuse to do any of the things that I did in the past. And most of all, I refuse to protect abusers ever again. Period. I see something, I say something now. But it's not like I'm looking for it. And it's not like I'm going to report something petty because I know what real abuse is. I know what to look for. I've been in such extreme situations, like being locked in rooms from the outside. But I've also locked people in rooms from the outside. I did that first, protecting abusers, going along with it because I was afraid. And then karma got me good. Then I got a chance to know what it feels like to be locked in a room from the outside. And never again will I do it. And if I ever see locks on the outside of bedroom doors or any door, I report it to the authorities because I know what that is. And I did it. I walked into a perfect stranger's house one time just looking at a house that they were trying to sell. And I saw locks on the outside of a bedroom door. And the people in the upstairs of that house gave me the fucking creeps. And there were children in that house. I couldn't sleep comfortably for 2 weeks thinking about this. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to submit a false report and then put a family through something that they may not deserve. But I decided to err on the side of caution. And guess what happened? My report led Children and Youth Services to that home, where they found a 13-year-old girl locked inside of that room, alone, depressed, and brainwashed into believing that marijuana was legal for everyone in the United States. Or in Pennsylvania. I think it was Pennsylvania. This 13-year-old girl was so cut off from reality. She didn't go to school. She was so cut off from all reality that she really believed the bullshit that her sisters and her mom were in there telling her, that marijuana was legal for everyone in Pennsylvania. And this girl was in there smoking weed, locked in this room. She got rescued. And when I found out that I did the right thing, and I rescued a teenage girl from being imprisoned and drugged up to stay there and manipulated and God knows what else, I knew in that moment that I see something, I say something. That's not being a snitch. That is called protecting children. And I will always protect children, and I will always protect animals to the best of my ability. Because I'm tired of being stuck in life and being unsuccessful and being unable to provide for myself and my children. I'm tired of it. And I tell you that since I've started my journey in being healthy and making healthy decisions for myself and children, my life has drastically improved. I don't need to call my grandma for a bailout anymore. I mean, she's not here anymore to do that, but I don't need to call anyone for help, really. And if I do, it's something little. Something that I really truly can't do for myself. But I can pay for it. I used to ask people for favors for free all the time. And a lot of times I really wouldn't get a whole lot of help. I mean, I used to ask for help all the time. I hated every second of it. And a lot of times I couldn't pay it back. I couldn't pay for the help I was asking for. Sometimes I went without. There were times where I was unable to get myself my own food. I've stayed in really nasty dumps, sleeping in them. I mean, I might as well have been squatting in them, but I was actually living in some of these dumps in the past. Places with questionable plumbing and questionable electricity, and places that were infested with rats and bed bugs and roaches, and yeah, I've experienced all of that. It was not fun. But I am so grateful that I'm finally independent. I'm able to support myself. My home is not infested. It's warm, it's nice, and it's comfortable. I'm grateful for all of my skills and abilities. I'm grateful for all of my accomplishments and my failures, because I've learned so much that was so valuable. Sometimes when you make the decision to get healthy, sometimes you make that decision alone. And sometimes you're forced to leave alone and be alone and stay alone. I've been around people my whole entire life. This is the first time I've ever lived somewhere where I wasn't sharing space with at least one other person. And typically, I've shared space with many people at once. It was always conflict, whether it was friends, family, roommates, whatever. It was always conflict. Children, whatever. I live alone. I am independent. I have never done this before. I am 41 years old. I am stable. I'm physically stronger. I'm mentally stronger and emotionally stronger. I'm not freaking out on people anymore. I'm not flipping shit and spazzing out and going crazy anymore over the littlest things. Now, whenever I get angry, I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. And I don't have to get abusive about it. But y'all will know when I'm serious and when I mean business. But most of the time, I'm pretty laid back. I love to have fun. I love people. I love to enjoy life and people and all of that. But I value my alone time too. I'm not desperate to have anybody in my home or in my space or in my life anymore. I used to be, because I was afraid to be alone, because I didn't think that I could make it on my own. Well, I proved myself wrong time and time and time again. And I thank God for that. That I had inner strength that I didn't even know that I had. I've been in relationships with men who have abused me, who have raped me, who have imprisoned me and controlled me and enslaved me, made me cover for their abuse. 2 exes ago, he tried to kill me with his new girlfriend. I trusted them. They said I could go and live with them because I thought I was dying and I wanted to be with my kids. I didn't know if I was going to live or not. I was in pain, I was sick, and I was weak, and I just wanted to be near my kids. And I went to Wisconsin. And I was there for 3 months. And I was so much weaker by the end of that 3 months because of all of the stress and the pressure and the heartache and the pain, the control, and being locked in my room from the outside and having my daughter, the one that tried to kill me so many times, locked in a room in the basement by herself from the outside, right underneath my room. And I got to hear her crying a lot. And there wasn't anything that I could do. Or at least, so I thought. I went along with this abuse because I was being abused too. Because I was programmed and conditioned and didn't know any better. I almost died. God saved me. Then I tried to go back and he blocked me from going back. And I knew when trying to go back, I was probably going to die there. I didn't care. I was ready to lay down my life. But God really blocked that for me because he wanted me to be alive. For me to do all this and more that I don't even know what I'm about to do. And I'm excited. I can't wait to see what the future has in store for me. I can't wait till I meet all the people that I'm going to help. And I've helped a lot of people in my life. I have. I've helped every person I've ever met and come in contact with. And I never even knew it. I have changed everybody's life just by having met me or known me in whatever capacity that they've known me as. And I've met a lot of people, and I've had a lot of people in my life at one time. I used to go through friends and boyfriends and all that shit like underwear. Even though I was so toxic and codependent and needy, all I ever wanted to do was love and help others and have it be returned to me. And I would bend over backwards to prove myself to these yahoos that I loved them, that they could trust me. And the more that I did that, the more they abused me. The more they ignored me. The more they made fun of me. The more they hit me, the more they abused me, the more that they raped me, whatever. And I don't care about any of that because none of that hurts anymore. It's just a thing. It was what it was. And now this is what it is. And I'm here telling you about it. You don't have to live your life in pain and suffering and misery and sorrow. There is a better way. Just heal yourself. Love yourself and take care of yourself. And everything else follows. It is that simple, but it is not simple to do. And it takes a long time. It takes dedication. It takes a lot of work and practice and learning and teaching and growing and evolving and transforming. but it's the only way for longevity. I'm not afraid of hard work. And neither should you. If you really want to be healthy, happy, and balanced and successful, if you really want that, be desperate enough to want that so bad that you will do whatever it takes to change your life and get healthy. Channel that desperation into something more positive. And that desperation goes away when you get healthier and when you improve and when you get more and more successful. That desperation evaporates. The only way to combat fear is by facing all of your fears head on. Doing everything that scares the living shit out of you, and do it anyway because you know it's the right thing to do. And that's the only way. You have to take risks. To get healthy. To be successful. To learn, to grow, whatever. It takes determination. Do you want to die? I didn't. I was like, fuck that. I want better. I want to be healthy. And it was one step at a time, every day, since then. The road wasn't easy. It was hard. But I never gave up. I made mistakes along the way, but I saw the error of my ways relatively fast, and I was able to correct them. It truly helps to be a student of life. Because when you're a student your whole life, you can then transform into the teacher. Because you have learned so much over the course of your life. And you've gained all that wisdom and experience from your successes and your failures, from your triumphs to your lows. And you'll come to a point in your life where you don't regret anything. That as bad as the shit was for you, you're happy for it because it makes you who you are right now. It's about shifting the perspective. It's about not dwelling in pain and sorrow and misery and negativity and whatever. It's about what are you going to do about it? Get motivated. By being desperate to change yourself, your life, for you. Channel everyone else's hate and oppression around you and their fear and their negativity and channel that as motivation for you to be stronger, be better, be bolder. Be courageous. To be all that you can be. Because there's no greater revenge than healing yourself, loving yourself, and being successful and showing everybody what you can do with that. Especially the people who tried to oppress you, oppose you, and people that didn't believe in you. It's the only revenge you need. Because the universe gets the revenge for you when you remain pure-hearted. When you can take accountability for yourself. Where you can learn from your mistakes and make it better. To make yourself better. To be the change that you want to see in the world. Instead of waiting for the world to change. There are 2 T.I. songs that I would like to leave you with. Dead and Gone and Motivation. I promise you that if you can tap into that, they'll change your life too. So that your old self can be dead and gone. You can find the motivation to transform your whole self and your whole life into something beautiful, into something worthwhile and meaningful. But you got to get yourselves healthy on all aspects, including getting rid of people around you that pump you full of fear and doubt, and people who oppress and abuse you and all that shit. They just have to go. You will have no peace continuing to have these people in your life. They're all karmics. Unless they're willing to apologize, take accountability for their actions, and work on their own personal evolution. Until then, they're fucking dangerous. And you have to have boundaries. They don't all have to be super extreme by cutting everybody out, but you can still have layers of boundaries with people. I had no idea what boundaries were. I was that fucked up. I didn't have boundaries. I didn't know what they were. I didn't know what they were for. I didn't know how to make them. It took me over a year to figure out boundaries. And it's basically what you accept from others is how they'll treat you. So if you accept them treating you really horribly, that's not having boundaries. That's not taking care of yourself. That's self-abuse. But it's all like unconscious, so you're like unaware of it. And you're just seeing it as this other person's abusing me. They're abusing me. They're hurting me. But you have to stop and take accountability for yourself. You put yourself in that situation and you stayed in it. I know I put myself in these situations too, and I stayed in them until I couldn't anymore. And I did it over and over and over and over again with new names, new faces, new places, and every time the lessons got harder and harder and more intense until I finally got it. It didn't happen all at once. It was a process. It happened over time. And it started with a decision of wanting to die and then deciding that I needed to do something because I made my own life a living nightmare with my own negative thinking and negative behaviors, negative words, negative actions, everything. I manifested my own nightmare. And when I was praying to die, I knew that I manifested my own nightmare my whole life. For 40 years, that's all I was doing was manifesting my own nightmare. because I was constantly in fear. I was not authentic. I was not healthy. And then I was like, well, the only thing I can do now is just try a better way this time, a different way to be healthy. And I was determined from that day on that I was going to do whatever it took. And I started small. And then before I knew it, I had accomplished many goals over the last 3 years. You don't go and start tackling all kinds of things at once. You do one thing at a time. And when you master it, or you're getting close to mastering it, you start a new goal. And you keep working on the old goals while still mastering the new goals. And you keep doing that, and you keep building off of that. And before you know it, a few years later, you don't even recognize yourself. And just be grateful for it. Be happy. Be healthy. Be free. In the grand scheme of things, 3 years really isn't that long. But it's a long time when you're going through a whole lot of shit. I've probably done 6 years worth of healing in 3. As a guesstimate, I don't really know. I'm not done. I still got, the rest of my life yet. It's a daily thing, and it never ends, healing. It's not something you can start and stop and expect things to be better. It's a dedication, it's a lifestyle, it's a routine, period. And it really is survival of the fittest. Are you strong enough to do what it takes to be happy, healthy, successful, and free? Or are you going to stay stuck and go in reverse? Choice is yours. It's everyone's individual free will choice to do. But the choice is an illusion. Because really, there is no choice. Karma makes it impossible for us to get away with anything. We're either going to evolve or die. And if we die, we come back and we go through all this shit again and worse. Until we finally break the patterns, break the behaviors, and break the cycles. And that's just the bottom line. Thank y'all for watching my channel and my videos and all that you do to support my channel. Thank you. I appreciate you so much, more than anybody will ever know. And those who have ears to hear and to listen, and the willpower and the confidence to do something about their lives and themselves. I give you all the empowerment you need. It's hard to believe that I was born disabled and I've come back from disability 3 times. And I'm healthier and fitter now and stronger now than I've ever been in my life. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. You can do it too. How bad do you want it? Have a great day, and I'll talk to y'all soon.